Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beth David's first ever variety show featuring ways in which you can enhance your Shabbat. Today, we have with us four incredible individuals who will be sharing how they make Shabbat special. Hailing from Shoham, Nitzan Basharti will be sharing traditions from family and friends. From the small town of Kiryat Tivon, Talia Arazi will help you learn some new Israeli slang for your next trip to Israel. Andrea Sugar, from all of 2 blocks from the shul, is building on her previous challah baking programs for those who need to add a little more excitement to their braiding technique. And Vicki Weiss, who is bringing her table to the big screen to show that with a few simple steps, your Shabbat table can look like it came straight from a design magazine. If you have any questions for any of our presenters, please don't hesitate to write them in the chat and I will be happy to ask them for you. Over to you, Nitzan.
Thank you so much, Flora. I'm so excited to be here on the show and have prepared some fun photos and videos for everyone here to enjoy. So my name is Nitzan Bashalti, as Flora mentioned. I'm a UGA Shinshinyot in Beth David. And I'm going to share with you a few experiences of my prayer Shabbat. Okay, so one of the main things I do on Shabbat is going to Machne Yehuda market and doing a testing tour there. Okay, so here you can see a few photos of me and my boyfriend Ro'i. During winter break, we went to a tasting tour on Shuk Machne Yehuda, which is in Jerusalem. In the middle, you can see the ticket of the tasting tour. You do it by yourself. You buy this ticket, and by the sides, you can see different options of food that you can go and taste. So there are so many different vendors and so many different foods. So every time we took a bite of something, we took a selfie of it, which made the experience much more fun. So we had rogalach, we had falafel, we had smoothies, we had khachapuri, we had hamburger, we had popcorn, we had beer, we had a lot of different foods. And the best thing is the environment and the experience of Shabbat. So we went on a Friday afternoon, which made the experience much more fun because you can see a lot of people preparing their things for Shabbat dinners, and people are praying, and you can see a lot of people come and go in the shuk, and it's packed. So that's what makes it much more fun. And yeah, if you go to Israel, this is highly recommended. So the next thing I do, well, I used to do on Friday. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Okay, perfect. So the next thing I used to do on Friday is going to the Scouts. So the Scouts in Hebrew is the Tzufim. It's a youth movement, an Israeli youth movement that I was a part of 9 years of my life, which is a lot. And I was a madricha for 3 years, which is a counselor. So in the left picture, you can see me in the middle, me and my friends. This was the end, like finale ceremony of the Scouts, which was very exciting for me. And there I can really express myself, which was one of the best things and one of the main things I loved about it. And I remember, and I know that my friend Talia was also part of the Scouts. So I would love to hear your experience.
Yeah, so the Scouts, not only in Sham, also in Tivon, the Scouts in Israel is such a big thing. I mean, even to this day, but I'm not part of the Scouts anymore, my mom will walk past the big center in Tivon, and she'll send me pictures, and it's just filled completely with what looks like hundreds of kids yelling and screaming and running around and doing these activities together. And this is such a big part of Shishi in Israel. Almost all the youth takes part in youth organizations, whether it's a Nora Oved, and the Tzofim is the biggest one, the Scouts. And so these are such a big part of just the feeling of Shishi. You walk around and you see them and you see everybody's wearing these khaki, we call it, these like khaki uniforms. And it's just a big part of life in Israel.
Mhm.
That's my Friday afternoons. My Friday morning starts with what I called lizrom. So lizrom is go with the flow. It's like kind of a slang term, and it's more than just a slang. It's kind of like a way of life. It's a mindset. And so I actually got this from my mom because my mom has her Friday mornings off work. A lot of people do. And she always wants to do something. But if I even ask her the night before, what are we going to do tomorrow? What's the plan? The only answer I will ever get is Nizrom, we'll see. I don't know. I have no idea. And this is very much what I feel kind of Israeli mindset, and it just perfect for Shishi in the morning. We wake up, we get in the car, and we have no idea where we're going to end up. So sometimes you can see in this picture, we go to the desert. This time we went to the beach in the middle picture, and we went for like this 10-kilometer run. And then on the other day, we did hiking in the north. Sometimes we go to the mall, and sometimes we end up just going to a movie. So lizom is definitely something you need for the Israeli mindset, especially for Shishi. And that's just before the scouts. So there's no answers to where we're going, only that we have to be back by 4, because 4 is when the scouts starts. So that's just a bit of Shishi at the scouts.
We have
I see a
we do have a couple
question.
of questions.
Oh, sorry.
We have a question from the group asking if the Scouts connect with other Jewish youth movements like Hashomer or USY. Is there any sort of connection with that in the Scouts?
So Hashomer Tza'ir is another youth organization. They are not together. Like we don't have any activities. At least my Scouts didn't have any activities together. But lots of times there'll be conferences, or for, let's say, Yom Rabin, we did something with a Nor Oved. So we do have some meetings, but usually I haven't done any international ones.
I do want to add that you can find a lot of Scouts tribes around North America. So there is Scouts here in Toronto, and I was a part of an international delegation of the Scouts. Well, it's not international. It's from Israel. We go to North America. So we do have a connection with the Jewish communities outside of Israel. And I was part of the Friendship Caravan 2020, which I was very lucky to do. But we do have a sort of a connection with the international Jewish communities.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I did a delegation also through the Scouts, but it was to Germany, and it wasn't like Jewish based. So there are lots of like programs where you can meet other people from youth organizations, not necessarily Jewish and not necessarily like from different movements, but there's all kinds of things. And I also see another question on why people have Fridays morning off. So in Israel, we don't get Sundays off. Unfortunately, Sunday is working day. And in schools, Friday is usually a half day. So usually until like 12. And some people will even get Fridays off. So I in high school had Fridays completely off. So does my mom in work, but she works like Friday to Thursday, completely normal.
My parents worked.
So now we're going to go over to Andrea. She's going to share some expert tips on how to braid your challah when 3-strand method is just not enough. And if we're lucky, we may even see one of her foster dogs on screen. So Andrea, tell us about one of your favorite techniques.
Okay, that was great. It was so nice to hear about Shabbat in Israel. I do, in fact, foster dogs. I've been bribing her this evening with little bits of challah to keep her quiet, and I'm hoping she'll stay quiet for my presentation. But I'm happy to show you some really cool new techniques, because I know the last couple of workshops I've done have been about making challah and doing some relatively simple braids. So I'm going to start today, and I just want to make sure that my camera is over my hand so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to try to get this really right over like that. Okay, so the first one's going to be the easiest, and you just start. We're not even going to do any ropes or snakes. We're just going to start with a nice small round piece of challah like this. If you prefer to roll it out with a rolling pin, you can do that. We're actually going to make a flower. So one of the things I was thinking about is spring is less than 1 month away. I'm so excited for spring to happen. And what symbolizes spring better than flowers and birds? So we're going to make a couple flowers and a couple birds, and we'll top it off in my second segment with something really exciting. So you can see here that I've sort of created this round, flat piece of dough. It almost looks like a little mini pizza. And I'm going to pinch off just a little piece of dough, and I'm going to put it right in the middle, sort of for the center of my flower. I'm not sure how easily you can see that, but I'm going to lift it up afterwards to show you. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut petals. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to cut again, 5, 6, 7. And you know what? It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the beauty of homemade things, is that they do not have to be perfect. In fact, I think they're more charming when they're not perfect. So now you see you've got these petals here. It looks kind of cute, but let's make it a little bit more special. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edges, and I'm just going to pinch the outside edges of the petals together, like so. Separate them a little bit. And one thing that I've learned about making any kind of shaped challah is you need to have a really well floured surface so that your actual piece doesn't stick to the surface. So I'm going to gently lift up my flower now and put it onto some parchment paper just to show you how that's finished off. So it already looks really, really pretty. And even if you put it in the oven like this, after you let it rise, it would be fine. But I'm going to make it a little bit more special. So what I'm going to do is I've just whipped up a little bit of egg, and I'm going to do an egg wash over this piece of challah. You don't do it on both sides. You only do it on the side that's going to be in the oven. And if I see my little flowers pulling apart, I'll pinch them a little bit better. And then I decided I'm going to make this flower really pretty by just throwing some colorful sprinkles on it. And so now that is your first piece. I will lift it up to show you close if I can, but I'll also bring it right to this camera here to show you what it looks like.
Andrea, we have a question here.
Yes.
The question is it a full dough recipe?
Yeah, it's just a regular challah dough recipe. So you just have lots of dough and you can do anything you want with it. I've done smaller versions of everything. So I don't know if you can see this here, but this is the baked version. And you can see that when you do the egg wash, the dough is just such a beautiful, rich, shiny yellow color. So it's really worth doing that for your pieces. So yeah, just regular challah dough. If you like your challah to be more sweet, you can add a little bit more sugar. Okay, so next, let's do a bird. This is a little more complicated, but also really, really simple. I'm just going to take a lump of dough here. Just want to make sure that you can see my hands there. And I'm going to kind of make this one a little thicker. I just want to make it long enough that I can actually tie it into a knot. Okay, so I'm kind of squishing it in my hands. I'm not even really rolling it out. And remember, challah dough is really stretchy, so it's very difficult to actually ruin it. But I'm going to wrap this around once I get it a little longer, because I want it to make a full knot. And I'm going to put this end through like that. And so now you can see I have a knot in the center, but I also have sort of like a bit of dough at this end. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to flatten that out. I have a little bit of dough at this end, and then I have a little bit of dough at this end as well. And so what I'm going to do is at this end, I'm going to pinch a little bird face. And at this end, I'm going to fan out this piece of dough and again, cut it into bird feathers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just make sure that they separate. And this bird head is a little small, so I'm probably gonna pinch off a little bit more challah dough just to make that bird head a little bigger. And again, you can pull out the beak just by shaping it. And then what you can do for bird eyes is you can just put a couple of raisins right on the side, like that. And now you've got this gorgeous bird tail. And again, a bird head with a beak. You can also cover that with egg wash, but I'm going to show you a couple of finished versions of that. So I've got about 3 birds here just to show you. Actually, I've got 4 birds here to show you. And I'm going to show you the difference when you don't do the egg wash. I'm not sure if you can see the difference of how dull that is. So this is one without the egg wash. Still adorable, right? Like, isn't that cute to put on your table for spring? And here's another bird with the beautiful fanned tail at the bottom, and you can kind of see that beak and the 2 eyes. So another really fun thing to do for your table. And then
So
I'll do
for these smaller pieces, how long do we bake them for?
Right, that's such a good question. Obviously, it's not going to be as long as the bigger pieces. So if you have small pieces like that, I typically bake them for 15 minutes at 350. And it's really easy because what you can do is just open up the oven, look inside and see if they look brown, and if you tap them and they sound hollow, you know that they're ready. So definitely they take less time. Okay, so next we're going to do, oh, this is a fun one. So this is a rose. And for this one, we do have to make a somewhat long rope. So I'm just going to show you the rope making technique once, but then I've actually made a bunch of ropes for the rest of my demonstration. So for a rope, you want to take your challah dough. You can kind of stretch it out a little bit into the shape of a rope, put it as far away from you on the table as you can, and start to roll it towards you. Put it away, roll it towards you. And every time you put it away and you roll it, you're using your palms, your fingers, your thumb to try and get the most even roll you can. And I'm going to keep doing this till I make a pretty nice long, not too skinny, because we're going to be doing something with this that we need it to be a little bit fatter. Okay. So you can see that I'm really rolling that out nice and long. So that's pretty good. I'm going to flatten it out just a teeny bit, because right now what I'm going to do, and I hope you can see this, I'll make it a little closer. I'm going to cut little cuts on one side like this. So I'm not going through the entire rope. I'm kind of going about 1/3 of the way into the challah rope, and I'm just cutting small little cuts into it, almost like you're doing it with paper, if you're cutting edges of a paper. So we've got that now. And now to make the rose, what we do is we begin to roll it. And I'll show you what it looks like in a moment. And I'll lift that up to show you. So it's absolutely gorgeous when it comes out of the oven, especially but I can show it to you there too. So let me show you a finished one. And this is one that's finished. So pretty, right? And it's so easy. It's one rope and it takes no time at all. So I love doing this one. I'm not going to talk about filling it with chocolate and cinnamon, but this is a great one to fill with chocolate and cinnamon as well. So I saw Neatsun go. Okay, so I've got one more that I wanted to show you in this segment, and then we're going to save the last 2 for another segment. So see here, I've got 3 strands that I've already pre-rolled, so I don't have to do it now. And what I'm going to do with those 3 strands is I'm going to cross 2 of them, and then I'm going to cross the 3rd. So we kind of have a pinwheel situation here. And then all I'm going to do is take the end of each strand, and let me see if I can, I want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to try to get this turned around a little bit. Sorry about that if you're getting dizzy. I will try to get that. There we go. Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take each strand and I'm going to pinwheel it like so. So that turned into a little pinwheel. I'm going to do the same with this one, and all of the pinwheels go in the same direction. There's another one. Another one. Another one. This works best with 6. Once you start putting more strands, the pinwheels get a little bit crowded and it doesn't look as good. So now I've created this pinwheel. Again, if you want, you can, I'm going to brush this with egg. I'll show you how nice that looks. Again, just on the top. If you want, you can put a raisin in the middle. You can put one in the center of each pinwheel. Whatever you want to do with this, it'll all work. And I'll show you what that looks like as a finished product, because this one is difficult to lift up. So here's my pinwheel, and I'll show it under here first. This is the one that I made last night, exactly the same technique. And then here's my pinwheel here, right? So you can see it's just so pretty and so easy. Okay, so now that I've shown you some really cool, easy techniques, we're gonna get these in the oven, and I'm gonna turn it over to Vicky, who is gonna tell us all about her love of flowers and table setting and preparing for Shabbat. And I have to say that I look forward every single Friday to seeing her latest Facebook post on how her Shabbat table looks. So she's going to tell us a little bit about tablescaping. And I'm wondering, Vicky, if you can tell us a little bit about what got you interested in tablescaping in the first place. So over to you.
So thanks so much, Andrea. I'm so inspired to try some of these challah demonstrations that you made for us today. I love the pinwheel one. I have a feeling I know what I'm doing on Friday. So my name is Vicky, and I invite you to become friends with me on Facebook and Instagram, because I share, as Andrea said, every Friday night, around 5 o'clock, I'll start posting photos of what my table looks like for this coming week. So I am Mom Who Runs on Instagram, and on Facebook, I'm Vicky Weiss. Next slide. So there are a few things that you need for tablescapes. You need flowers, need a vase or 3 vases. I'm a big fan of 3. A centerpiece in case you don't have a vase or flowers, placemats, and napkins. I have brought with me some samples of napkins that I always have handy. I have, like, in fact, an entire, you don't want to know, but I keep a lot of napkins of all different colors in a box. I also have candlesticks all over the place. Some of these candlesticks, I'll share stories with you afterwards about where I find my centerpieces and candlesticks, and where I find my vases. Next slide. So here's an example of a birthday party tablescape that I did. And as you can see, I did not go buy flowers. Instead, I just took simple balloons from the dollar store and put them in a vase on a stick. And I thought it looked pretty cool. I found some matching napkins, and that was the tablescape for a birthday party on a Friday night. Next slide. This is a black and white theme. So I always try to have a theme every Friday, like what color, what flower. It depends on my mood, depends on the weather. So this one, I love this table setting. The placemats were from Israel, from a store called Max Stock. And I always try to pick up placemats when I travel because they're easy to pack. And the napkins are my favorite type of napkin. It's called Pavio, P-A-V-I-O-T. They're a small fortune. I buy them at Pusatera's or Summerhill. There's just a few stores that carry them in Toronto, but they're my favorite. Every once in a while, I'll splurge. And the inside that vase, that little miniature vase, is actually dried wheat because I thought it matched the napkin. Next slide. Sunflowers. This is another favorite. I'm often inspired by flowers. So this week's was a sunflower theme, and I took yellow IKEA candlestick holders and found some yellow candles and a yellow and white napkin from Real Canadian Supercenter. And that tablescape really made me happy, I have to say. Next. Thank you. So this is my Jewish New Year. Often people think, oh, wow, Vicki, you're so creative, amazing. And I'm like, no, I spend too much time on Pinterest. So this tablescape was inspired by Pinterest. See the center of the napkin? It looks like it's an apple. And I've scooped out the apple and put honey inside. So, and that napkin is, by the way, from Israel. If you go to Israel, always stock up on napkins there. They're in Hebrew, they're amazing, and they're really, really inexpensive. They're cheaper than the dollar store here. And basically I took some white roses, and I love this tablescape. Next slide. Another Jewish New Year, because Jewish New Year is 2 nights, so I get to really express my creativity. This one was, I love this one as well, because I collect pomegranates every time I visit Israel. So that's my collection of pomegranates, and you'll see the center, the napkins have sort of, it's like a paper napkin holder, and that's also in the shape of an apple or a pomegranate, I can't tell which one. And I wanted to serve honey and pomegranate in a unique way. So I took, see the platter on the bottom right? So I took that unique sort of serving piece and put honey in it and pomegranate. And I love the way this table looked. Next slide. And we're coming up to Pretty in Pink. Table runners from AliExpress. Those are gurgle pots that make me laugh every time I pour water because they make a glug glug sound. And I use Gerbera flowers because they're super pretty. And a pink and white napkin from the dollar store. And I don't know if you can see the cutlery, but the cutlery is actually from Israel, again, from this store called Macstock, which is a cross between a Home Sense, Winners, dollar store, Giant Tiger, cheap and cheerful. Next slide. More sunflowers, but this time with brown instead of just yellow and white themes. So I used a brown placemat and a simple yellow napkin from the dollar store. And again, I really like this tablescape. Next slide. And these runners. So see this tube? It looks like wallpaper, but it's not. It's actually paper, and it is a runner, and it's also perforated, so you could use it as a placemat. Kind of genius, $13, and I've only seen it in one store, believe it or not, in Aurora. So I stocked up on quite a few of them because I think it's brilliant. And I used an orange napkin that's creative in sort of an origami shape that's hard to find. I can't even remember where I bought those. And I found some orange flowers, and this tablescape makes me happy as well. Colorful. And brown and white. So again, brown and white napkin, and then that centerpiece. Again, sometimes I don't have time to run out for flowers, or I don't have the strength to pick a color of a flower. So I just find something else. And this time I found an assortment of candles, and I just like the way this looked. It was easy and simple. I love the placemat that I found on Facebook Marketplace. Yes. Next slide. And you gotta love tulips. So tulips are, I don't know, they're my favorite. I don't know if they're your favorite, but they're spectacular flowers. And I took these little mini vases. I have a whole bunch of them, put it across the table. And then I used a green plate that, like you'll see it, I have green plates, also from Facebook Marketplace, and green and brown napkins. And again, one of my favorite tablescapes. I tried to pick my favorite tablescapes, as you can see.
Vicki, we have a question here about, you have so many different items to rotate. How do you store them all?
Yes, I get this question all the time. So believe it or not, we live in a 1,900, I'm going to say 950 square foot condos, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, 1 small cupboard, but I'm pretty creative in the sense that I'm able to make sure that my cupboards are efficient. So I store things really, really well. I've got 2 entire shelves dedicated to placemats. I've got quite a bit of storage for candles, sticks, and vases. And as you can see, like a big box of napkins. And that's really all you need. Okay, I do have an assortment of plates and dishes as well. And my kitchen it's not huge, but it's got deep cupboards and I'm able to store quite a bit in my kitchen. Yes, but great question, great question. So the last tablescape is the silver theme. So the runner is from Israel, from Maxstock again. And the vases, that silver vase, that's from a Buy Nothing group that people post things that they don't need and you go pick it up in your neighborhood from somebody's porch. So that was free. And the candlesticks were from another Buy Nothing group, the same Buy Nothing group, another person. And she was getting rid of these candlesticks that she didn't like, but I loved them. So I got all of that for free. I put some baby's breath in it, 1 candle. The napkins are from AliExpress. And again, this is a pretty elegant type of Friday night dinner table. Yes. So sources where to buy stuff. You've heard me mention Facebook Marketplace. So I'm going to share a quick story with you. See this beautiful candlestick? Can you see it? Yes. So this candlestick was posted on Facebook Marketplace and I saw it and the woman was asking $15 for it. And I write to her saying, is this a George Jensen candlestick? And she goes, who's George Jensen? And I said, he's a designer. And I'm Googling it while I'm talking to her. And then sure enough, it is a George Jensen candlestick. I'm like, can I come over now? And I dropped everything and I ran to Bayview and Shepherd and I gave her $20 because I felt terrible to give her $15 because no joke, these candlesticks, there's 3 of them. They're worth $350, like some insane amount of money that I was getting for $15. So I gave her $20. So Facebook Marketplace, placemats, candlesticks, vases, great place to source stuff. Dollar store, my favorite place for napkins. The Buy Nothing Facebook group, even better than the dollar store, better than Marketplace because it's free. And I like, who doesn't like free? And people they give away stuff from Pottery Barn, from Restoration Hardware, from Crate and Barrel. I have scored some unbelievable things from this Buy Nothing group. And AliExpress, which is sort of like Amazon, and the napkins are really cheap. And I just buy napkins on AliExpress. And that's my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, feel free to follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I post every Friday night what my table is going to look like. Yeah. No questions? So now I'd like to go back to Nitzan, who's going to share what her Shabbat table looks like. Nitzan, how does your love of new cultures, food, travel, and people help to shape your Shabbat?
Okay, thank you, Vicky. I loved it. It's beautiful, and I'm gonna use some of your tips. I'm gonna text my mother some of the ideas. Maxstock is a very good store to buy those things. So thank you for the tips. So now I would like to share my Persian side of my family and my identity. So I'm Persian from my father's side, and I'm also Moroccan and Tunisian from my mother's side. But the Persian side is very strong. In my life, I love different cultures in general. I love different languages. I love seeing different types of food, music, and yes, I definitely feel Persian in my roots, and you can feel it when you come into my house. Depends on the food and the music that I'm going to share with you. I also have a tattoo in Persian, so this is how strong it is to me. So now I'm going to share with you a Persian rice by my father. Before I came here, actually, we did a video. I filmed him making the Persian rice, and I recorded his voice explaining how to make it, so I won't forget. It's actually in Hebrew, so if you want the full recipe, feel free, welcome, and comfortable to reach to me, and I will send it to you. So this is originally a recipe by my grandma, Sasta Chaya, my grandma Chaya, and it's my favorite dish. So enjoy the video, and yeah.
ניקח 3 כוסות אורז שטופים, כוס של אפונה, שמיר קצוץ, תפוחי אדמה, מלח וחוואיג' למרק. קוצצים את השמיר, מוסיפים את החוואיג' למרק והשמן, מערבבים היטב עם האפונה ומשאירים בצד. בסיר עם מים רותחים מוסיפים חופן מלח, מוסיפים את האורז ומבשלים למצב אל דנטה. פורסים את תפוחי האדמה לפרוסות דקות. ושוברים כף של זירי כוסברה. מערבבים את האורז ובודקים שהוא כמעט מוכן, אבל לא ממש. מסננים את האורז. באותו סיר מוסיפים גם שמן, מעט קורקום, זירי כוסברה ותפוחי אדמה. מוסיפים מעט מלח, מטגנים את תפוחי האדמה מצד אחד. הופכים את תפוחי האדמה ומפזרים בעדינות את האורז מעל. בשכבה דקה מוסיפים גם את האפונה ותערובת השמיר. מפזרים מעט חוואיג' למרק ואת שאר האורז בעדינות מעל. יוצרים 3 ערובות ומכסים. מבשלים בחום בינוני למשך כ-40 דקות. בסיר נפרד שמים חלקי עוף שבישלנו במים, הרבה בצל, מעט מרק עוף, חוואיג' למרק, וזהו. על אש בינונית נבשל את זה במשך 2 שעתיים. והנה לכם האורז של סבתא חיה, שבכל יום שישי היינו אוכלים. שיהיה לכם בתיאבון.
Yes, so like my father said, this is the recipe of my grandma Chaya that we used to eat at her house every shishi, and now we eat in my house. I actually brought this Persian rice here into my host family house, and I made it with my host mother, Robin, which was a great experience. I was so excited to take the first bite and feel like I'm at home. So I hope you enjoy. Like Cora said in the chat, feel free to reach out to me or to Cora, and I will send the recipes through it. So thank you. So the next thing I wanted to share with you. Whoops. The next thing I wanted to share with you, also from my Persian side, I promise there is a Moroccan side in me, and in my house you can find some very delicious sweets. But I decided to share this because of Shabbat. And at Shabbat, before Shabbat dinner, when we prepare Shabbat dinner, we always listen to this song. So when my father had his birthday, my sister did a shlichut, like I do now. She was a Shinshinyot in Long Island. And for a gift for him, she learned how to sing a song in Persian, his favorite song. And he was very excited when she sent it to him. So for his next birthday, when she's now in the army, she made another song. She learned all of the words, and she does know the meaning, and it's beautiful. And the song called "It Rained," and it's in Persian. So you can grab your popcorn and you can enjoy my sister singing my favorite song in Persian. And yeah, enjoy.
زده بارون به اون صورت ماهت یه کمی خیز شدن موهای صافت سر زبون دارم ولی تو را که میبینم مثل چشمات میشم سرکت میشینم دل به دل را داره جذبی عشقم آرزو مینه باشی جلو چشمم دل به دریا زده ام عاشقم عشقم اینجوری نکن با دلم هین از آن چشمک مغرور جذاب زیبای خوشگل چشمک تو راشته قلبم تو ماشتت مغرور جذاب زیبای خوشگل چشمک تو راشته قلبم تو ماشتت قلبم تو ماشتت زده بارون به اون صورت ماهت یه کمی خیز شدن موهای صافت سر زبون دارم ولی تو را که میبینم مثل چشمات میشم سرکت میشینم دل به دل را داره جذبی عشقم آرزو مینه باشی جلو چشمم دل به دریا زده ام عاشقم عشقم اینجوری نکن با دلم هی نزن چشمت مغرور جذاب زیبای خوشگل چشمک تو راشته قلبم تو ماشتت مغرور جذاب زیبای خوشگل چشمک تو راشته قلبم تو ماشتت قلبم تو ماشتت
So this was my sister Noam, and I hope you enjoy listening to her, in my opinion, amazing voice that unfortunately I don't have. But I'm gonna pass it to my friend Talia. So Talia loves to travel and spending time with her family and friends, and I would like to know more about how your Shabbat looks like at home.
Sorry, I was muted. And so this is my host family. And so this is a picture of the Shabbat that we spent together. Just before I talk about Shabbat at home, I'm very grateful for them and for learning how Shabbat in Toronto is spent and Shabbat in their family. So it's been a really interesting experience learning about different Shabbats, and also makes me appreciate or know what's different about mine at home. This is Nitzan's family.
So this is my family at home. We live in Shoham, and we have our circle table that we love, so we can see everybody. We always have different salads and different foods, so it's not on the table, but we have tons of food that we don't have place on the table.
So this is my family, and we have a few guests there in the background, but the person taking the picture is my mom. Person with the kind of bluish sweater is my dad. My grandma's there in a light blue sweater, my sister, my brother is right there in the back. He's the younger one. And so you can see lots of food, lots of people. We have even more guests coming, and this is Shabbat. Like lots of different colorful foods, lots of different people coming in. My house is always open, and sometimes people just stop by, sometimes they leave, sometimes they come. Like we never know, but it's the best. I wouldn't change it for the world. So Shishi Mishpachti, which means like a family Shishi, is something I think that most people can resonate with. It's something that's such a big part of Shishi in my family and for most families in Israel and around the world too. And so on the left side, you can see my town, Tivon, really small town in the middle of kind of the woods. You can see the houses are in between the trees. And we do once a week, we'll have shishi, like one shishi we'll have it at my family in Tivon. Half of all my dad's side live in Tivon. And then the other shishi, the next one, we'll have it in Herzliya, which is right by Tel Aviv. It's an hour drive, and that's my whole mom's side is in that area. And so we all always have shishi together, the family, whether it's on my dad's side or it's on my mom's side. Shishi in Tivon is very like calm. We go and we do pakal cafe, which is like this coffee, and you take it, you go into nature and you sit and you chill, and you kind of just have time with your family, which is amazing. And then the next week after that, we go to Herzliya, like I said, and we go like straight after the scouts, like very, very busy. We pick up my brother from water polo and we drive straight away. So my grandma doesn't get too mad that we're late. And so we get there and my whole mom's side is waiting. My grandma has 7 siblings, so it's a big, big dinner every week. And Herzliya has the beach and it's a big city, so big change from Tivon. And so I think like we started off with what our shishi looks like before shishi in the morning, then we learned how to bake a bit for shishi, then how to set the table, and now we're arriving at the meal. So this is how I spent my shishi at home. My family, once a week here, once a week there, will stay the whole weekend. And it's just, I don't know, this is what shishi is for me. When we had to sit and think of what we were going to do and what we were going to explain about how Shabbat is in Israel, this is the first thing that came to mind, spending it with family and friends, and everybody's off, everything is closed. You literally have nothing to do other than sit together. And I'm so actually grateful for that experience. It's been amazing.
Talia, we have a question. I just want to ask why you call it shishi. Is shishi generally meant to be Friday in general? I see some, I see Nitzan's family calls it kiddush. So can you tell us a little bit why you call it shishi?
Oh yeah, sorry, sure. I didn't even notice. So shishi obviously means Friday, and I don't know, shishi for me, we always say like aruchat shishi or shishi ba'erev is not like just the day. It's not just like Friday. This is like the entrance of Shabbat. It's like the beginning. It's just more than the word. And that's just what we've always called it in my house. Like if you ever have any question or whatever, the answer is shishi. It's like, this is the day and this is what we call it. It's just kind of more than the name. I hope I answer that correct.
As I work, in my family, we call it kiddush. Like I will ask my parents, when is the kiddush tomorrow? Because we are mekadshim on the geffen and the challah, so that's how we call it. But yeah, it's shishi dinner, aruchat shishi, kiddush. Yeah.
Were there any other questions or?
We have our photos from our host families that we wanted to share with you. Yes, so this is my host family. It's the Langas family. Maybe some of you know them. So you can see Ilan, Robin, Yair, Saba and Safta, that's how they call them, Uri and Tina, me in the middle, Eitan and Dea, my host siblings. This was in Hanukkah. You can see the Shinshinyot on the table, but it was a Shishi, so it counts. I'm very grateful for my host family, and I wanted to mention that. And we have the best aruchot shishi, and I love to taste different kinds of food with them and go in the kitchen and help them for the preparations for shishi. And we always do like a picture of Shabbat and shishi in the house to make some memories. So this is my shishi with my host family. Talia, what about you?
So like I said, it's been really different from Shabbat at home, but it's been really, really great. And so I think it's been a really like a learning experience, and I'm so grateful for it. And my host family is amazing. And me and Nisan are very lucky. We're staying with our host families the whole year. Usually there's a switch. And so I think it's been really great to learn about Shabbat here in Toronto. And I hope you guys learned just a bit about Shabbat in Israel from our little short presentation. And so just to finish up the show, we're going to get back to Andrea, and she's going to show us a 3D braiding technique, which I don't even begin to know how to imagine what that looks like. So I'm really excited to see and hopefully learn a few things. And so any chance that your love of crocheting maybe even influenced your challah making? So excited to learn about it.
Thanks, Talia. That was great. It's so nice to hear about your Shabbats. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah, okay, excellent. So yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be nice if I could have a crochet hook for making challah? I could probably do even more complicated braids. But today I'm actually, just to end things off, I want to show you two 3D techniques, and they're so much fun. And the first one, I'm just going to grab a piece of tin foil. So all you need is a kind of sturdy piece of tin foil, and just fold it into a relatively square shape like that. And then you're going to fold it again into a triangle. Okay. And then what you're going to do with this is you're going to turn this piece of tin foil into a cone. So I don't know if you can see that I've made a cone out of this tin foil, and I'm going to fold the tops over so that they kind of stay there. And if there's a hole at the bottom of your cone, that's okay, because you can just kind of close it up. It's just a form for what you're about to do. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take two very long strands. I'm sorry they don't fit in my completely in my field. And you're going to start to actually twist them together. So you're going to make a long twisted braid. You can see you can do it lots of different ways. I just like to kind of twist it in my fingers until we get a really nice twist going. There we go. And then once you've twisted it and you've got a nice twist, you can just pinch the ends so that they don't fall apart. And I'll just show you kind of what that twist looks like close up. It's kind of hard to see. And then what you're going to do is you're actually going to take your cone, and I'm just going to make it nice and full. And you're going to actually wrap your twist around the cone and all the way up. So if you can see what I'm doing now, I'm kind of making sure that my twist, there we go, is following all the way up the cone. That's right. And then you can just pinch the ends together. And again, I'll just do that. Again, once you actually place this on your baking pan and you brush it with egg, this is what your cone will look like when you're done. So it's actually a hollow challah cone. They are so gorgeous. You can fill this with lettuce and roast beef or deli or veggies and have like a full cornucopia cone sandwich, and you can make lots of these. They're pretty easy to do. So that's the first 3D. The second one is kind of a little bit complicated, and I hope it's not a fail today. So let me just show you what you're going to do. We're actually going to make a basket that's out of challah. So it's an edible basket that will hold all of the different challah buns that you've already made. And the first step really is—
I'm just going to interrupt you for 1 second. We had a question here from the last one. Is the foil baked with the challah?
Yes.
That you,
oh, such a good question. Sorry, I didn't clarify that. You just lay everything on your baking pan, brush it, and bake it with the foil inside. And then once it comes out, the foil just slips right out the center of the cone, and you've got that amazing, cool cornucopia. And it looks really great. Like it's dark on both sides. It's really lovely. Okay, excellent. I'm going to make a basket out of challah. Now there's different shapes that you can use, but the key is whatever shape you use, you really have to cover it with parchment paper. If you don't, I've had so many failed baskets because I thought I covered my mold with enough oil and flour, but it always sticks. So this is the best way to do it, where take your shape, and this time I'm going to make sort of a round basket, but just to show you, I also have this Pyrex and it's a square. So, if you wanted to make a square basket, you could do it woven. We're going to do something a little bit different today. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually wrap my bowl with, I'm sorry about the loud noise, it'll stop in a moment, but with the parchment paper. It really doesn't have to be perfect, but you're going to turn it upside down onto your baking dish. And if any pieces of the paper are sticking out, all you have to do is tuck them back under again. Okay. So there you go. And there's our parchment paper. And what I've done, this is something that you have to actually have a little bit of patience for, because it requires a lot of ropes. Just to let you know, I've actually made 2 very, very long ropes first, and I'm going to twist those together just like I did with the cone. And again, the longer they are, the more complicated it gets, but you just kind of have to keep rotating and keep twisting. There we go. These might be a little bit too long, but that's okay. And we're just going to put that aside for a moment. So I've twisted that rope, and I'm going to put that aside because that's going to actually be the top of our basket. But what we're going to do now is take all of these gorgeous strands. I've got about 12 of them, I think, and we're going to start to lay them across our mold. So this is actually in the center, even though it doesn't look like it's in the center because we're off balance a little bit with our camera. I'm going to layer these, and I'm just going to keep crossing them like this, as many as you can. You don't have to use all of them, but the more you use, the more sturdy the basket becomes. So I'm going to try to use lots. Okay, and then that goes there. Looks like I have an opening here as well. That looks pretty good. I don't know if I need to do more. I'll probably leave it at that. Now this is going to be the bottom of your basket, and it's really thick. So you can just take your palm, just press it down. And what that does is it actually creates a really nice base for your basket. And it also allows your basket to sit very flat on the table when you take it out of the oven. So that's your first step. Now you've got your twisted ropes here. And what you're going to do is you're going to wrap them around all of these strands. Don't worry if the strands are sticking out in the bottom. Nothing wrong with that. You're going to wrap them around until they meet. And they've met here. And you can see I've kind of I'm going to turn this around so you can see, I've lengthened these ropes. So if they're too long, there's no issue. Just pinch off the extra and just push them together, just squish them together. And now you're going to notice that you have these strands all sticking out from underneath. You're going to use them to secure the rim of your bowl. So again, these are a little long, but I'm just going to tuck them under like this. I'll just pinch off the excess, and you can roll them underneath. You can tuck them under. I typically roll them under. So I kind of go around and roll it, like I twist it along with the twist. And again, I'll cut that off and twist it. And I won't do all of this just in the interest of time, but what you do then is you take this, if you put this directly on your baking sheet and you don't have to move it, it's best, because then you don't have to lift it up. So the key is to actually assemble it on your baking sheet with parchment paper under. And again, you're going to brush it, right, with your egg wash, and that's really important for the basket. And you're going to bake it, and there's no worries about over baking this, because the more you bake this, the crispier the outside will be. So it's better to err on the side of baking it for too long than for too short. And then I'm just going to show you what the finished product looks like. And let me just take this away, and we'll assemble our basket with all of the things that we made. So this is what the basket will look like when you take it out of the oven. And I'm going to bring it up as well, just to my other screen so you can see it. So it's this upside down braided basket. And you can see that because there's parchment paper inside, there's no issue with lifting it off. So I'll just lift it off now and I'll show it to you. Totally edible basket, which is really awesome. And there's different ways you can do this, but what I wanted to do is just put everything that we made into it. So we've got our birds, we've got our cornucopia, we've got our pinwheels, we've got our beautiful rose, we've got our flowers, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be Vicky's next place setting centerpiece. And I'm going to see this on Facebook in the next few weeks.
Correct.
Pretty gorgeous, right? And the basket is edible, which is really fun too.
Andrea, that is incredible. We do have a few questions. How long are we baking the cornucopia, and how long are we baking the basket?
Right. So the cornucopia is also relatively small. If you made a huge one, you'd want to bake it a little bit longer. But again, this at 350 should only take about 15 minutes to bake. I would give the basket, again, as long as it's not looking like it's burning, I would give the basket a good 30 to 35 minutes, because what you want to do is you don't want it to come out floppy. Like, you want it to come out a little bit dried and hard so that it actually has a lot of structure to it. And again, it's not going to be the most tasty challah, but it'll be crunchy on the outside and chewy on the inside. It's still really fun to eat your bread basket. Yeah, any other questions?
Yes, there's another question about the egg wash. For the cornucopia, do we put it on all sides? Does it go all the way around? And same with the basket, we put it all around, even the edges? Where does the egg wash go?
Great question. So I try not to put egg wash on any part of the dough that's going to touch the baking pan, like the actual parchment paper, because it can cause it to stick. Like, it gets a little bit sticky. So for the cornucopia, the heat of the pan created this brown on this side, but it was the egg wash on this side that created the beautiful golden color. And similarly, the edge of this basket is actually browned only by the heat of the pan, right? If you take a look inside the basket, there's no egg wash because I had to lay that dough, right, over my mold. And so there's no egg wash inside, but all of this that was facing up towards the center of the oven, it's all egg washed, including the rim. So this whole rim over here, I washed it.
Amazing. Okay, so thank you, Andrea, Vicky, Nitsan, and Talia, for your amazing ideas and for opening up our minds to think out of the box for what Shabbat can look like. I know I learned a lot, and I hope everyone else here did as well. For everyone who's in attendance, please feel free to unmute yourself, say goodbye, say thank you, anything you'd like to say, and we're looking forward to an amazing Shabbat this coming week.
That was amazing.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Excellent.
gorgeous. Thank you.
Fun.
Great
job.
Beautiful.
Appreciate it.
Incredible.
Program.
Although I don't do any more cooking, this was wonderful.
Thank you. Absolutely gorgeous.
Wonderful program.
Beautiful.
So nice to see everyone.
Good to see
Thank
everyone.
you. Oh.